It is no mystery that director Alfred Hitchcock was fascinated by Freud's theory of psychoanalysis. Hitchcock used Freud's theory as inspiration and as a storytelling tool for several of his films, including Rear Window and Psycho. But what drew Hitchcock specifically to psychoanalysis? To answer this question, we must first understand what psychoanalysis means. Psychoanalysis is the study of human development and the unconscious mind to understand human behavior. Freud's studies focused mostly on the psychological and sexual development of boys into men. Laura Mulvey says, psychoanalytic theory is a political weapon, demonstrating the way the unconscious of patriarchal society has structured film form. It is my argument that Hitchcock used Freud's analysis of the male psyche to victimize male characters and demonize female characters to fit his and society's social narrative. In fact, Hitchcock made his opinion about women abundantly clear to the public. In a 1969 interview with the New York Times, he says women are much less stable than men, and much more promiscuous, and he dislikes women who have their sex hanging around their necks like jewelry, and then if a man approaches them, they run away screaming for mother.
I can come down next week.
No.
Not even just to see you? Have lunch? In public?
Oh, we can see each other. We can even have dinner. But respectably. In my house, with my mother's picture on the mantel, and my sister helping me broil a big steak for 3.
One actress, Tippi Henderson, who starred in Marnie and the Birds, said this about Hitchcock in an interview for the British Film Institute.
I don't know if any of you women have had the horrible experience of being the object of someone's obsession. Have any of you? I don't know whether you'd even answer that, but if you have, you would know exactly what that is like, and it is oppressive and frightening, and you find out that you've been followed, and you find out that your handwriting has been analyzed, and you find out that you're being spied upon and made demands that you would never acquiesce under any circumstance.
Unsurprisingly, the protagonists of Hitchcock's films were male and the antagonists were female. Hitchcock's gender discrimination was partially a sign of the times. When Rear Window and Psycho were released, a cultural shift had occurred in America and was continuing its course. Rear Window came out in 1959, 9 years after World War II. When the war ended, the soldiers who returned home found their place in society had been taken over by women. We know from the opening scene and references throughout the film that Jeffries was a soldier in World War II. Therefore, Jeffries stands in as the all-encompassing representative World War II vet, while Lisa represents the feminist woman who castrates the male by being independent and forward-thinking. 6 years later, on the precipice of the women's rights movement, Hitchcock released Psycho, a movie that, like Rear Window, was built for the male gaze. In it, Hitchcock uses false protagonist Marion to exemplify what happens to those so-called promiscuous women. To satisfy his and the male society's unconscious desires, he uses point-of-view shots to allow their voyeuristic sexual fantasies to play out on the screen, and put them in the shoes of the murderer. While the true protagonist, Norman Bates, fights the antagonist, his mother's personality, which traumatizes his mind and prevents him from sexual satisfaction. Therefore, by examining the character of the director, we can surmise that Hitchcock used psychoanalysis in Rear Window and Psycho not only to reinforce gender stereotypes and appeal to male spectators, but also to satisfy his own unconscious desires.